my side. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm alcoholic, and I've been saved by grace. I was thinking about, well, should I come up here and tell my story, or should I talk about how I encountered Jesus in my life? And I think that's way more important. I was born in an alcoholic home, and I was molested as a kid. A lot of torment, a lot of torture. Never belonged, never fit in, never felt part of anything, and I just spiraled out of control. And so, rather than give you my qualifiers of the debauchery in my life, I'd rather just focus on how Jesus changed everything in my life. I was 30 years old. I was on drug court, and I couldn't stay sober, and they sent me to a place called Arch down the road where Brian. And it was sit down, shut up, shave your face, do what you're told. If you know how to live, you wouldn't be here. And so I was like, all right. They told me I was raised by wolves, so they weren't wrong, And so it took a lot of determination to get me to see things from a different point of view. I had to be smashed out of the delusion that I could run my life, and they taught me what God's will might look like. There's the Oxford group that started AA, and still this day in Akron, Ohio, they use the 4 absolutes. Is it absolutely loving? Is it absolutely pure? Is it absolutely unselfish? Is it absolutely honest? And they measure that, right? So I can measure my self-will against God's will. And coming today, when the season of Lent getting ready to start, I think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus himself got on his knees quite often, but in this particular, it's recorded in the scripture. It's like, God, your will, not mine. If you could take this cup from me, take it, He knew what was about to be poured out of him. He knew the wrath of God was going to be poured upon him. And in his flesh, he was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And so even Jesus was on his knees praying, your will, not mine, be done. And so I think by anything I've learned in recovery, it's how to match what's my will look like, right? Well, my will is usually dishonest, it's selfish, it's self-seeking, it's a lot of these things that aren't of God's, and God's will is he wants me to love people, and he wants me to be, I kind of get stressed out when I'm inconvenienced. I have a very busy life, God's given me a very, very good life. And so sometimes I feel like I'm trying to hold this whole weight of all this. And then I got to remember it's not my weight, it's his weight, We read this book. It's called The Spirituality of Imperfection. We're reading it on Friday nights. And this lady was like, can you give me a picture of spirituality? She asked this guy, he couldn't figure out. He looked at this fireplace mantle, and the light was pouring in on it, and it had all these beautiful stones, And he said, spirituality is like the grout, the mortar that's holding it all together, And I realized just on Friday night, I'm trying to be the grout in my life. I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to hold all these pieces together. I can't do it. My own will, my own power is insufficient. And so I just came here to tell you that the power of surrender. Surrender is a verb. Surrender is action. You often think that it's the opposite of doing anything, but it's doing the most. I got a buddy that was supposed to come here last week. He's a sponsee of mine. He relapsed, and everybody's calling me, freaking out. We got to get it. Hey, it's got to run its course, But the thing is, the most we can do for him is pray for him, The book Alcoholics Anonymous says that the guy's beyond human aid, And that's where I was. There's another part in the 12 where it talks about hitting the road of providence and consequence, right? So I come to the crux in the road where the consequences of my life and the way I've been choosing to live has hit a point where God's providence has intervened. Now, which way am I going to go? Am I going to keep going down the road of consequence, or am I going to turn and take a different route and surrender my will over? And so that's probably enough of me running my mouth. I don't do this perfectly, trust me. But yeah, man, without encountering Jesus in my life, nothing would be possible. There's my son Elijah over there, and you guys are reading out the Old Testament today, and he you saw the first episode. So I know it's God's will for me to be here today. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you.